hopefully we can keep the show going and actually get some laughter back in this bitch. Let's bring up our next roaster. Very funny. Please give it up for Mr. Brett Wheeler, ladies and gentlemen.
Thanks, everybody. Very funny is comedian code for I don't know this guy. Matt is surprisingly clever. He asked me to do this roast, and I didn't really want to, and I was like, I'll come out, I'll do it. And then he never mentioned that I was going to have to go on right after Darius, because that would have been the tipping point. So here we are. Sorry? Go ahead and try. Okay. Thanks for the encouragement. And you know what? You're right. Ray wasn't being nice. I would also like to point out that you were the best part of his set. Now, I'm not feeling very well. I'm a little under the weather. I normally wouldn't come out, but you only get one 35th birthday, and Matt only gets maybe 7 to 10 more birthdays total. So I figured I might as well come out and help him celebrate. Normally when people are up in this position, they will use the phrase, look at this dais, to lean into some of their jokes. But I would encourage you instead to listen to the dais as it groans under the combined weight of Keith Carey, Tim Groeschel, Sean Williams, and Matt Cole. Ladies and gentlemen, look at this dais. It's like a who's who of who doesn't know when to put down a fork. I would like to point out that until I started doing stand-up comedy, I never ever made fun of fat people my entire life because I just thought it was too mean. And then I started doing stand-up and I stared at the abyss too long and I became a monster. A monster that only weighs 155 pounds, but a monster nonetheless. Am I right? I'm looking for someone to high five and it's no, forget it. I'm not going to high five you. When I hear you doing stand-up, I'm like, oh my God, is that what I sound like? It's like when you hear a recording of yourself, but it's skinnier and looks like it has AIDS. So let's talk a little bit about this dais. Tony Alfano opened the show, and say what you will about Tony's comedy. At least one person always laughs at his jokes, and that person's name is Tony Alfano. Just Dane cooks his way through every single... Like, I got a story with no punchline? Shut the fuck up. God. If Chris Hardaway murdered him and took his place, would anyone notice? Ray Chung was up here earlier doing something. Apparently demonstrating to us that while Asian people might be good at math, they're bad at cultural appropriation. Ray, when you try to sound black and I close my eyes, it sounds like a juggalo wearing blackface over his clown makeup. Ladies and gentlemen, Tim Groeschel is here. Yeah, we've reached that point in the evening where no one claps for the other fat guy with the beard who they don't know. Tim Groeschel once was doing a bit on stage about how he lost some weight and he felt like his dick was getting bigger. And he said, but that can't be true. And he said, well, I'll ask Brett. He teaches human sexuality classes. And he's like, is that true? And I was like, yep. And there's this dead silence. And he's like, well, I got like 10 minutes about how it can't be true. It's just wishful thinking. And I was like, well, then maybe don't do crowd work to the professor who teaches about the subject you're talking about. How about we'll make a deal? You don't do that anymore. And if I have 15 hilarious minutes about how oil works in race car engines, I won't ask you anything from the stage. Tim Groeschel, the man who literally drunk dials me to talk about Game of Thrones. Because, in his own words, yeah, I watch Game of Thrones, I drink, I don't have a girlfriend, and I have feelings. So obviously you're the person I have to call. Matt Walker is here, ladies and gentlemen. Matt Walker. You know, as a guy who got into comedy when I'm old, as an older guy, I sometimes think, I wish I'd gotten into comedy earlier, but Matt Walker always makes me realize that would have been a terrible idea. We look alike and we sound alike. He's just way more bitter and sad. It tells you something about Matt's frame of mind that he made a reference to how I'm such an unlikable guy that I should kill myself during his set. There's a lot going on there. Let's see, who else? Keith Carey is here. Keith, ever since he got his job, I've been calling him Keith, half a Queen Mary. But it has been suggested to me that is confusing for people because they're unsure if I'm referring to his weight or his sexuality. To which I say it's a twofer. It's like a coupon for sadness. So why am I here tonight? I keep asking myself as I'm listening to Derek talk. And I realize it's because I kind of like Matt Cole. And then I think, well, why do I like Matt Cole? And that is a much harder question to answer. I shouldn't like Matt Cole. I'm a liberal nerd, and he's a washed-up jock who only got interested in the issue of police brutality when they started killing white people. I'm going over, what do I like about Matt? Do I like that he is a fat guy who routinely fat shames women who let themselves go? Nope, don't like that. Do I like it that he's racist? No. Do I like it that he's misogynist? No. Do I like it that he essentially peaked in high school? No, I don't. I don't like any of those things. Well, I'm getting the light. It looks like that. No, I'm just kidding. But here's what I figured out what I like. I don't like that Matt is a fat, racist misogynist who peaked in high school, but I like that he knows exactly what he is and he doesn't pretend to be anything else. Yeah. At the end of the day, at least Matt Cole is not one of those fucking hipsters who pretends to be a feminist and then just uses women and throws them aside like Kleenex. Basically what I'm saying is, Matt, you're the anti-Damian Holmes. That was for the comics. Yeah. I wish Damien was here. I'm not afraid of that fucker. I don't have to be afraid of him because I don't have a girlfriend that I take to a show that he just blinks at and she leaves me, so. At least Matt isn't one of those guys who tweets about how much he hates sexism and then gets infuriated that women aren't just lining up to blow him because of what an awesome contribution he's made to the field. In fact, when a woman doesn't sleep with Matt, he doesn't get mad because Matt Cole has seen Matt Cole. He gets it, ladies. I do have one story about Matt in which he misunderstood something that I did. We were recording I was a guest on the podcast recently, and he comes out and he has 2 Coors Lights that he sets down next to him, and I point at them and start laughing, and he gets defensive because he thinks I think he's an alcoholic. But that's not what was going on. The reason I did that is because I realized in that moment that him bringing out the 2 beers so he won't have to get up during his podcast is the highest achievement possible in terms of professionalism for Matt Cole. The reason I was laughing is not because I think you're an alcoholic. It's because getting 2 silver bullets at one time is the best you have to offer. Also, I think he may be an alcoholic. But I'll tell you this. One of the things I actually genuinely like about Matt is he's one of the only people I know, especially in the comedy scene, who understands that disagreeing with someone doesn't mean you have to hate them. And so we will talk about things, and we will disagree about politics, and then Matt will say, well, you want to go get a beer? And against all probability, despite the fact that he's just told me that he thinks immigrants should be rounded up and put in camps, I want to get that beer with him. So, anyway, everybody is up here, I think, because they've recognized the quality about you, and I promise you that in just a few short years, when we're gathered together roasting you at your wake, that we will talk about this nice part of your personality, but mostly about how fat you are. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Brett Wheeler.